And we're going to go for this approach because I'm using Kali. But if you want to go for the other approach, there's the Kickstarter, there are the instructions on how you can use it, which pretty much is nothing, I can say, complicated at all. But since we're using Kali, we're going to be using that. So this is the BloodHound's repository. That's the community edition. It was updated 2 weeks ago. So let's just start. All right. So I'm gonna refer to the Kali documentation, and I'm gonna see and categorize how easy it is to get installed, and if we're gonna encounter any issues. So we're gonna pretty much uh, give feedback based on the installation instructions. All right. Now here we need to first update and install BloodHound. So let me go back, open a console, and pretty much paste the command. Do my sudo password. It's gonna do an update, and then install BloodHound. Now in the past, when you do install BloodHound, it was installing BloodHound Legacy Edition 4.3.1, but now they officially switched to BloodHound CE, which is good, I think. What I mean by that is when you go BloodHound GitHub, that's the legacy one, and in the past, if you do in Kali apt-get install BloodHound, you would get this version here with the legacy BloodHound, but now it's getting the CE. All right. Now, then we have sudo BloodHound setup. I think that's going to set up Neo4j. And the interesting thing is that now we have also PostgreSQL service. Why is that service? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. In the past, BloodHound was using only Neo4j, at least to my knowledge. But now we still have Neo4j, but we also use PostgreSQL for something. I'm not sure why. So here's what it says. The default password is Neo4j, so we pretty much have the same setup of credentials. And of course, we need to change them by going to the Neo4j console. So for now, the interface is quite simple and the same. Now, browser already opens that and essentially pinpoints us to that. But since I've already had a BloodHound, I don't need to modify the password because I already did it for the Neo4j. All right. Now, let me draw something real fast because I think it's needed to understand the base logic behind BloodHound. So if I go here and do new, where was it? I did not want to do a Canva. Actually, I don't have the plugin in there. Now, on the Obsidian, I enjoy using a plugin called draw.io, diagrams.net. Okay, this one because it's the most updated one. So when you install that and enable, all right, when you install and enable that, when you go to a folder, you can pretty much do right click and then new diagram. So when that happens, you have fully working draw.io inside your Obsidian. So you can pretty much edit diagrams, you can save them directly in your file system, and you can view and share them, which is super, super easier and better for me to stay organized. Now, usually what happens is, but I don't like the theme, by the way. Can I change it? So settings, yeah, let's do white. There it is, because I think it's just better than the dark theme. Yeah, sorry for the flashbang, but I think it's better. Now, what happens usually is you have, let's say, this is Kali. This is the machine itself. Now, inside this machine itself, we pretty much have a Neo4j database, all right? And then we have the BloodHound software. Let's say BloodHound Legacy. Now, what happens is that you have, let's say, a domain there. Let's say the domain is lsec.local. Now, inside this domain, we have DC, we have pretty much the things here, like the DC, the SQL servers, and so on. We have them all here. So this can be the DC. I'm going to add one more just to have something like that. PC1, we have perhaps SQL1, and so on. So when you compromise something in your target environment, and you run Bloodhound, or sorry, you run Sharphound, what happens is, let's say we compromise this SQL1 machine. That's compromised. So let's make that red. Okay, that's compromised. Okay. Now when you compromise that and you run sharp count essentially binds to the DC via LDAP, and it gets a lot of data. Alright, it gets a lot of data inside the zip archive, and all the data is JSON based. Now when you transfer this data back to your system, right here, you need to import this data. So this is gonna generate bloodhound date.zip. And essentially this data needs to be imported to the Neo4j. Okay. So at the end, you open bloodhound. The bloodhound itself, when you drag this data over, what it does is it imports it to Neo4j. So pretty much the right diagram or the right connection should be that. So you have this bloodhound data.zip like that. Then you pretty much by drag and drop into the bloodhound software, it automatically gets imported to Neo4j. So at the end, bloodhound itself is just a visual representative for the data there. So all the data, all the connections are inside Neo4j, and the bloodhound is just representing this data. Of course, it has queries which can help you extract data and visually see the paths, but all the data is stored there. So I think for the BloodHound CE, we are doing pretty much the same thing. All right. So that's what's usually happening when you run the BloodHound legacy version. All right. So with that, we have the Neo4j there. And since I've already had BloodHound legacy, I did not need to modify the password. But if you do it from the first time, first use, then you need to go here and pretty much you're going to have a prompt for changing the password. There it is. Okay. Now let's continue with the documentation. Now with that, we change the password. We can add the password to pretty much the config file, and then we can start Bloodhound. So let me try it. Yep, I did that. Thanks for the follow, mate. Appreciate it. Uh, I did that. Okay, come on. All right, I mistyped it. There it is. It's the password, and we're in. So the installation was quite simple. Now the only issue you can face is, as me, if you want to pretty much, if you already had Bloodhound and Neo4j and you install that, you just need to make sure you open this file, which is stated in the documentation. The file here, this one there, and where is your secret, you need to type your password. So my password was already changed. I did not need to change the Neo4j password, and I just typed my password there. That's all I did. So by doing that, then you can start Bloodhound, and it looks like there's a if statement to see if this file was modified. That's what the Bloodhound setup does. And when you do it, then pretty much we can access the web interface. Now on the one hand side, that's good. And I think it helps, it's better for, let's say, the teamwork. Now I'm going to explain what I mean, but let me make sure I can access it now. I have everything running. I'm going to open the dark mode. There it is. Okay, and what I mean by that. So let me open a new Obsidian page now, so we can draw a little bit. We have the domain there ready. Now from the installation perspective, we can do good and easy installation. Easy to follow instructions, did not experience any technical problems slash bugs. So from the installation perspective, we are quite good. Now we need to collect data, but beforehand I want to explain something else. Now let's do it with Obsidian Canvas and then maybe decide which one is better. So you guys can vote in the chat, do you prefer the canvas or you prefer the draw.io diagram embedded in Obsidian? So here I'm going to do new canvas, and now here let's imagine something. Now as mentioned, that's Kali. Okay. Now inside this Kali again we have the Neo4j, and essentially we also have the BloodHound CE because it's web-based and not only. Okay. So in the past, where we only had canvas all the way, okay, got it. In the past, we had BloodHound Legacy, not CE. So let's take the previous example. Okay. In the past, let's say you have this Neo4j, and when you import data from BloodHound, as mentioned, they are imported pretty much here to the Neo4j. And now, if someone else from a different machine over the network wants to join in, let's say here is a command VM. If another operator using another system wants to join in, he needs to directly go and connect to the Neo4j with his BloodHound legacy. So what's going to happen is he needs to have a BloodHound legacy, and then he's going to use this BloodHound legacy to connect to your Neo4j. And essentially, that's how you can work with the same data. Right. Of course, this is possible, but I think if we are speaking about BloodHound CE, I think it makes more sense and that is more easy now. Because now when we are using BloodHound CE, we don't actually need BloodHound Legacy, but we need a web browser. So for example, this is your BloodHound server, our Kali. Then we pretty much collect data and import it into Neo4j. And anyone else inside the network, if it's not segmented of course, can just open a browser, access your Neo4j from it because now the BloodHound CE is just web-based. So in that case, we are not accessing the Neo4j directly, but we're accessing pretty much the BloodHound CE there. And this BloodHound CE is working with the data from the Neo4j. Okay. How do I bring that to the back? How do I bring that to the back? Or perhaps I can do it like that. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So that's the BloodHound CE, and let's do it the same for BloodHound Legacy. Like that. And if we are speaking about BloodHound Legacy, this connection here is still the same, but now here we're gonna need again BloodHound Legacy. And this BloodHound Legacy should be connected to again the Neo4j. So I think in terms of security and teamwork, BloodHound CE is much better. Much better. Because first it has a big password policy, and of course I'm sure it can create multiple users, we're gonna test that. And also it's super easy to access. So you're not exposing any database, you're not exposing anything. You expose just a web server which can be used for connection, and you can operate from BloodHound from it. Right, which to me is good thing, and I think that's the better way for teamwork. Now, there's a chance that you can experience some lags because you're using a web browser from a VM, and usually such kind of graphical effects from VM is not alright. So usually if I'm using a VM and a standalone machine or a standalone, I'm working by myself, I would go for BloodHound Legacy like that. But if I'm working with a team on production, real pen test, and so on, I would prefer the C just because of the infrastructure. Now I'm not sure what's behind that. We're gonna still go over it, but for now that's my opinion on these two scenarios. All right. So here we have a bunch of links. We have a sample collection, but we also have a file ingest page. So let's see what that's all about. So we have file ingest. We can upload files. And we can pretty much make it easier because now, since we have the web interface, I guess we can directly upload our collection data, which is nice. I enjoy it. We can manage users. Okay, let's make a new one. Let's make test, 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 test. Again, do we need to have the same password? Let's test it. Okay. Yeah, we need. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. We even have SSO configuration. Okay, perfect. Now let's get to the next step to not get off the track. Now the next step, we done the installation. Now the next step is to collect data. Now I have my domain lsec.local there. From the domain I have the pfSense, of course, the DC, SQL1, and the client01. And we don't need all the machines to be up because, as mentioned, the collector binds to LDAP and not to every single one of the machines, unless they want to check sessions in URDA. Now, let's see how to collect data. For that reason, I'm going to go to the BloodHound CE, not the legacy one, not that, but the CE. And now if you scroll a little bit, you can see is fed by SharpHound and AzureHound. So now we have links to specific collectors for on-prem environments and Azure environments. So we want that. Okay. That's the SharpHound. So we have version 2.7.1, which was released 3 weeks ago, so it's brand new. Now I guess there should not be a problem. In the past, for the legacy, if you misuse the version, you're gonna have some problems and the bar is not gonna load. But now I think should be fine. So we can either compile that ourselves or just the pre-release versions. I think this makes more sense for now. Here we want Windows, not the debug ones. We don't want the debug ones. We want here, this one there. Windows x86. I'm not sure why that. I'm not sure why it's x86 only. I'm really not sure, but I think it does not matter at all. So I've just downloaded it. Now I can go to CD and downloads, and I can from here do actually move it. Let's say, well, how to move it? SharpHound to let's go to temp. All right, so go to temp, and now here do Python 3 -m HTTP server and port it. There it is. Now let me go back to my environment, boot up the SQL machine. Why SQL? Because here I've installed Elastic EDR, so it's most likely going to detect that, but we can also test it. Actually, let's just test it. So I'm going to do 168, 0.106, I believe. Yeah, 206, sorry. Let's get here. I forgot the dot and the HTTP. There it is, and now just download the SharpHound. I guess upon downloading the Elastic agent would automatically blast, saying that it's malware. Yeah, keep anyway. Nothing happened, by the way. Extract here. Let me remove everything because I had all SharpHounds. Yeah, okay, so it looks like the agent is not running. I don't know why. Maybe because the Elastic itself is not running. I'm not sure. But there it is, we have the SharpHound. So I can open a PowerShell, I can go to CD downloads, and I prefer to do that over some kind of a CLI because I can see what happens in runtime, I can see the request, I can see what data is collected, and so on. So you can either run the exe version or you can pretty much use the PowerShell one, and that depends on your environment and how flexible you are and what AV or EDR you have on your system. But for testing purposes, because the main idea is to see how it works, we're going to use the exe, and I also want to see -h. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it was not signatured, but it was removed as soon as I executed it. Strange logic, but it worked. That's why we're going to go to SQL1. Okay. Now here, open Firefox, go to the same thing, download SharpHound, and I don't have I was still here just because of these reasons. I need to test stuff, not to AV or EDR bypass everything I wanna test. Here, then extract all. I'm gonna make sure everything is removed. Extract. Oh, no, no, no. Extract all. There it is. Boom. Okay. And now run sharpcount.exe minus help. And pretty much the options are the same as the old sharpcount corrector. Pretty much we have the same options. So at the end, what we want to do is do minus C. Oh, because it's gonna collect most of the data with capital A. There it is. So from that, we can see it bounds. We have some exceptions there, which I'm not sure what they are, to be honest. Yeah, I'm really not sure what they are. But I guess the tool is still running. So let's give it a bunch of time. It has more exceptions that do not look good at all. Yeah, doesn't look good. Maybe it's because of the minus CO. Maybe it's because of that. Let's see. So we have a bunch of objects. It's working, even though we have some exceptions and issues. It's doing something. So let's see. Come on. I don't have that big of an AD. It should be done quite fast. I mean, a bunch of users, like 150, something like that. It's not that big of a deal. There it is. Alright. Here are the objects. Here is the archive. And what I want to do now is pretty much make sure I rename that. And I want to run it one more time, but without minus CO, just to see if the exceptions are going to be there. So run it, and let's see. And there it is, they are. So I'm going to close it. Okay. Do you set up your AD environment yourself, or is it based on GOT or similar? I set it up myself. I did it because I wanted to build it from scratch so I can learn how to. And I have the flexibility to do anything. I mean, you have the same thing with the goat, but when you have it ready with a bunch of stuff, it's harder to navigate yourself. But when you start from scratch, it's better, I think. All right, so we have the bloodhound data there. So now we need to ship it. Now, usually you have many ways to achieve that. You can use Python upload server, you can use WinSCP, you can use your C2 framework, and so on. But now, for simplicity, you can do instead of HTTP, do upload server, and pretty much you're gonna again have an HTTP server running. Now, when I refresh, you can see file upload here. Then you can click browse, and of course, upload the bloodhound data. There it is. Boom, submit query. No content. Okay. Okay, there it is. There it is. It's fine. Now let's try to upload it, right? That's what we do now. So let's go to file ingest, upload files, go here, go to perhaps other locations, computer and temp, and there is bloodhound.zip. So upload that. Ready, upload. Okay, close. And I think it's fine. I think it's good. So let's go to explore, and we have no data available. Why that? Go to settings, administration, upload files. So settings, where is the settings? Why I'm not seeing that? Administration, upload files, I'm doing that. So it says ingesting. It looks like it's thinking for it. It looks like it's doing something now. Oh, complete. All right. There it is. Complete. Go to explore, and we're in. So we can try it now. Perfect. So what we can do is let's try to see how it works now. Pathfinding. Okay, cipher, search for nodes. hide labels, reset graph, layout, export, search current results. Where are the predefined queries? I was expecting. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. And you can choose between environments. That's nice. Okay. Okay, good. Uh, let's try by getting a user, right? So let's say we compromise jsmith, local. There's the user. Then you can click, I guess, add to owned. Okay. Now from here, I enjoy the UI better. And I enjoy that when you select the user, on the right you have all the details about it. I think it's better this way. We have member. Oh, that's good. So I started to like this BloodHound, by the way. Now on the right, you directly have a bunch of important information, such as some account name, which I think was missing in the Legacy Edition. You have the details about the password. So you have when it was set, when it's about to expire, and I think there somewhere should be a user description. So for example, no info, desky, there's no description, by the way. And that would be nice to have a description because sometimes in a description you can get a password or perhaps you can see the users what's about it. Sometimes admins put meaningful descriptions on the users so you can get an idea what they are about to do with the user. All right, so then we can see member of, and here we can see all the groups this user is a member of, which is better from the Legacy Edition. I enjoyed it. I like it so much. So what happens when you click the menu? Okay, so when you select a group, you can select it. All right, that's fine. Can I go back with the backspace? No. So that's one minus compared to BloodHound Legacy. So let me go here. Cannot go backwards with backspace. What I mean by that, in the BloodHound Legacy, let's say you do that, JSmith, right? And here you create some kind of a query, like the one there. And when you, for example, do backspace, you are redirected to your previous query, which actually I don't think it works here. But never mind. All right, so now uh, I want to go to JSmith now again, like that. And here we see the member of. We have execution privileges. Let's see what that's all about. Oh, that's best. That's good. That's good. You can directly see RDP privileges, which makes it super easy for you to see where your user can RDP in, which thing can be accessed. You have PS remoting privileges, which means that these privileges can be used for WinRM. And we can test that if we go to here, I can start my Kali internal and verify if that's the case. So I'm just curious. I forgot. I know that's my environment, but I forgot if I really set it up this user to have DPS remoting privileges. I just really can't remember. So yeah, BloodHound CE actually taught me something about my environment, which is great. I like it. So here, what was the password? Kali? No, it's not Kali. It is Kali. What? Whatever it is. Okay. Okay. Now here I can do evo winrm, and now with that I can specify the IP. And here we can see that we can PS remote DC01 and also SQ01. Okay, so let's try that. Now the SQ01 is having IP address of 52. All right. So let's get back here. 172.60.60.52. Username is gonna be jsmith, and password is gonna be, how was it? My secret pass one. I think it was like that. So run it, and there it is. We can. So for sure we can. Let's try with the DC. So this is IP 50. Boom, there it is. Damn, that's good. It's good because it lets you see lateral movement vectors super easy. Just by marking your user, you can you can instantly see where your user can actually connect and how. That's badass. Damn. And you have also a bunch of more ways of connection. So you have decom privileges, which can be used for decom lateral movement attacks. You have SQL admin rights and constrained delegation privileges, which can be used for exploitation. Damn, that's nice. I like it. So for example, if I do SQL1, let me try the same. So here, scroll down. Mm, wait. Member of sessions. Oh wait, how did I get the sessions if I'm not a DA? Mm, that's strange because usually in the past char count, in order to get the user sessions, which means which user is connected to which system, you have to be a DA. But now it turns out that you don't have to be a DA, which is a huge thing for me, by the way. I don't know how that information is available. If you guys know, drop that in the comments or in the chat. I really don't know how that works. All right, but now let me try go to that, or actually a menu, outbound object control. No, it's not that. It's also not that. We see that's a DA. But where is this setting? I kind of lost it. Wait a second, JSmith. Now in the JSmith, we have this execution. Oh, I need to mark it. Okay. Okay, so if I mark it, sessions member of. Okay, we don't have any works like. What if I do that, which is a domain admin, mark it? Local admin privileges. Oh, nice. So it also gives us where we are local admins. Damn. Okay. Member of. Okay, I don't know why I'm not seeing the MSSQL thing. Because, for example, in JSmith, if I mark it, you can see execution privileges. And here I'm looking for SQL admin rights. And I'm sure that the MAT was SQL admin on some SQL systems. Let me try that. Perhaps. You can also find local admins. Whoa. Alright, I have to admit I enjoy that. I have to admit I enjoy that. For sure. Alright. So when you specify a machine, you can see all the sessions on it, which is 100% correct. I walked into this machine with this user. You can see all the local admins for this machine. You can see inbound privileges who can PS remote. You can see JSmith. You can also see this machine, which group they're in. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. I enjoy that. I like it. For sure. For sure. Alright. Now let me try pathfinding. Let me try JSmith. Okay. And what I want to have is, let's say, the domain itself. Let's see. Alright. JSmith can RDP, can PS remote to DC, where the administrator has a session, which is a member of the domain admins, which can pretty much DC sync. Alright. Now here are their exploitation details like BloodHound. Legacy. Let's see, general. The remote user JSmith has the capability to create a remote desktop. Abuse. There is. Perfect. That's how we can connect. And for the PS remote, on the abuse section, That's how we can again connect. Yeah. Is there a Linux session? Because in the BloodHound Legacy, you had a bunch of options for exploitation from Linux and from Windows. Now here I see only Windows exploitation. Let me see here if there's any Linux abuses. Ah, yeah, there it is. Windows abuse, Linux abuse. Perfect. Perfect. Now what's that? Yeah, ADCS, ESC4, ESC3, ESC1. Perfect. But where is the DC sync? I want to see a DC sync, right? Uh, okay. Now there's the Pathfinder. Now what I want to check pretty much is I want to see if I have uh pretty much finding paths from owned objects. I want to check for, let's say, unconstrained delegation. I want to check perhaps for Kirby roasting, ASREP roasting, ADCS, and so on. So, are there any predefined queries? I don't think so. So you can pretty much, in terms of a better connection from a user. So let's say I can make it like that. So BloodHound CE has better display or better. How do I categorize that? Better paths from any object. I can say it like that because I think it's super much better and easier to just specify an object and directly see his sessions, where he's member of, local admin privileges, where he can execute code, and pretty much object controls, which object he can control. That's so badass. That's so badass. So for example, when you click on outbound object, let's see, here we have write account restrictions to SQL1. Again, we have abuses and how to do it. Perfect. Pretty much resource-based constraint delegation. And there it is. Then we have the domain users, which can enroll specific certificates. That's again badass because it shows you what exact certificates you can enroll, which is super needed information for ADCS, and it's super useful to have it there. And then here, we can of course see which CS you can use, and we have a generic call for the DCs. Now, of course, that's customly placed because my environment is super vulnerable on purpose, but we found some attack paths. Perfect. Now let me see if we can find DAs. DAs, curb-roastable accounts, and so on. Now the DAs can be found easily because now we can use the new BloodHound and specify domain admin groups. And now from the domain admin groups, you can just click it, you can scroll, and you can see members. And there it is. There are all the domain admins. That's about it. You can see where they have local admin rights and everything they can control. There it is. Boom. Okay, I get it. You can also do perhaps lsec.local. Click that. That's the domain itself. I like that how it automatically resized based on how many objects I have. So here you have all of the domain information, also the SID. Then foreign members, foreign admins. Yeah. I want to see who can DC sync. So I think now that's where the BloodHound queries come in place. That's where this come in handy. So this is official from SpecterOps, and we can use these queries pretty much get anything. So let me search for irreproducible users. Thanks for the follow, mate. Appreciate it. Now that's how we can search for irreproducible users. What happens if you run query? Ooh, damn, that's so badass. I can copy it, move to BloodHound, then perhaps let's see where I can run queries. I don't know where. Reset graph, hide labels, no, layout. Can I export it? Oh, nice. Okay, but how do I run queries? Go to export again. Just clear it up. Maybe here. Paste, run. Okay. I think that user is corruptible, but I think I should have more. Let me try from here. If I click run and specify my BloodHound endpoint like that, run it. Okay. Oh, nice. Here we can have super more let's say control over what's being displayed, more fields, and essentially we can pretty much download any data and any query, and for example do it full screen. But that with download part is super efficient because usually if you needed to have a specific query and to download it, you need to do a neo4j query and then perhaps parse it and so on. But here you can just download it, and then you can import the BloodHound and see it. Boom, easy. All right. That's good, but I think I have more combustible users. Okay, let me try acid roasting. Yeah, there it is. Copy that, or let's see what happens if I run it. There it is. Okay, it works. That's so badass. That's so badass. You can just click run, and you can instantaneously run the query inside your system. Damn. Okay, let's see unconstrained delegation. Zero tier account, unconstrained delegation, shortest paths. We have these two. So run that. Okay, SQL2. I think it's the case, but I think I have more. So I think it's something messed up. Either we didn't have the full data because of the exceptions, or the queries are not working that much, because I'm for sure that I have more combustible accounts than this one here. I am just sure about it. Yep. I'm just sure that's the case in my environment. So I think it's about the shadow count itself, because it threw a bunch of exceptions. It was not able to maybe collect the full data. Maybe. So what I can try now is pretty much use the same thing, but execute it as a DA. So I'm gonna first make sure I delete everything, like from here on out. I delete everything. Open a new PowerShell window, run as admin. Alright, then go to home, SQL1, downloads, sharphound.exe, CO, and see if I gonna get exceptions again. And that's the case. So I think that's what happens. And I think there's something bad at the moment with the sharp count collector, and that's why we don't have the full data, because of these exceptions there. Now I'm not sure what they are. We need to investigate that more, but now is not the time to do it. So let's continue on. Let's see what else queries we have. What more queries? Let's see. Let's see this query. What's gonna do? Oh, big graph. A super big graph. Oh, and it's so smooth. So usually in the past, in the BloodHound legacy, if you have a gigantic graph like this one, it's gonna take for super much time to calculate. And second, it's gonna be super laggy. So when you work with it, you're gonna experience a lot of lag. And I was thinking that I'm gonna experience more lag from this one, but that's not the case. It's more optimized. It do not lag. It runs super smooth, which is great. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have this system pointing to account operators. All right. Yeah, that's a big graph. Let's start something more smaller. Let me try ADCS perhaps. Oh, ADCS escalation edges. Let's try that. All right. So we have a golden cert from DCO2, which is of course the domain controller. We have enterprise admin and domain admin can pretty much use the certificates, which is not that big of a deal because we want someone who is not, let's say, DA to be able to do it. Yeah, so in that case, that not makes us that big attack vectors, but it's still the case. So if you have any ADCS misconfigurations, you can see it from here. All right. Let's see something else. Let me try constraint delegation, or let me try, let's see, from shortest path from owned object. There it is. There it is. Run it. We've marked John J. Smith to be owned object, and we have no criteria. Hmm. Again. And we also have the labs, by the way, which is also a nice query to have. Yeah, but I think it actually happens because of the issue with the collector itself, and I'm sure that's not the full data. I'm sure. Here we have a path from Kerberostable to DA. So we have this Kerberostable account who can essentially perform generic write or resource-based constraint delegation to the DCO1 or shadow credentials again. And then the DA has session on it, which you can dump and so on. It works, but I think it's something messed up with the collector. I think it's something messed up with the collector. These exceptions, I don't like them. I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong or if the code itself has some kind of an issues on it, or if my environment is kind of messed up. But these exceptions are not alright, and I'm sure that the full data was not gathered from it. So perhaps we can do another one when this thing is finished. I might try looking into the code and see what's wrong there. But essentially, that was about it. Without the full data, it's really harder for me to pretty much show any result of these queries. But I like BloodHound CE so much. Now, first things first, I have to apologize because I was thinking that's going to be super slow inside the browser VM, but it's not. Actually, it turned out to be quite fast. So even though we generated some big, gigantic results, it was parsed fast, and I was able to migrate and pretty much crawl around over it without experiencing any lag, which I was super skeptical exactly of that thing, but they proved me wrong. So good job on that. Now, getting back into the agenda, we pretty much installed that, we collected data, we had a bunch of exceptions. All right, that's the protocol for today. We were able to analyze this kind of stuff and the potential attacks. And by comparison, we can say we cannot go backwards. So, for example, if I click the backspace now, I don't go anywhere. So here I can generate perhaps maybe a new query. If I do backspace, I don't go back. So it's kind of not that big of a deal, but it's something that I get my eye on. Because as I mentioned in the legacy version, if you do backspace, you get your previous result, but that's not the case here. So that's maybe the only disadvantage in terms of comparison between the BloodHound legacy. But anything else I think is better. So better paths from any object. We have, uh, let's say, library of queries. I think the same queries can be also executed inside the BloodHound legacy. All right. So that's not a plus because they are valid in both cases. We have no built-in queries. At least I was not able to find these, like shortest path from all principles. But I mean we have it there. We have it there, so we don't need to have it built in. We can perhaps maybe build a library of queries and have it there, but we can easily run them directly from the window. So I cannot say that's a disadvantage because we already have them. We can just copy paste and run them. So that's not big of a deal at all. And I can say it's just better. So faster, smoother, easier for teamwork because as mentioned, all you need is a browser and credentials, and you can access it and work with your BloodHound CE. Easy as that. You don't need to install anything, you don't need Neo4j, you don't need to expose it for Neo4j, and you don't need to have BloodHound on your system, just a browser. Firewall is better, you can create users better, and the whole UI is just better. So from my perspective, this BloodHound CE is better from the legacy versions. And I'm gonna try that the same thing after some time to see if with the different releases with the sharp count thing, I can actually get different results and get all the data, because I am sure that's not the full data. Yeah. Now with that, it was already an hour and something, so I'm gonna shut down the stream. I wanna say massive thanks to everyone who's there, who's engaged in the chat, and I hope it was useful to you guys. So you can also try that. The installation was very simple, and just don't forget to modify the file. When you try it, you can state any feedback, and also you can do it in my Discord, so make sure to join. You can find the link inside any YouTube video, it's gonna be there. With that being said, thank you so much again. Thanks to my Patreon for supporting my work. Thanks for my Patreon for everything. And if you want to, again, support my work and access to internal stuff and tools, again, you can become a Patreon. And in exchange of your support, I can also support with knowledge and tools. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. And I'm going to announce the next stream. And by the way, the winner of this giveaway, don't forget to pretty much reach out to me so we can discuss when that can happen, set up a booking, and pretty much do it. So, yeah, thank you, guys. And see you in the next one. Bye bye.